reporting requirements are more strict, and I feel like it provides a little bit more safety around those investment opportunities for non-accredited investors to be able to participate in an industry like this.
And Eric, I think you work mainly with plant touching companies, but do you have a view on the ancillary space and M&A that might be going on there now or in the future?
Yeah, we'll work with anybody, whether it's a cultivator, distributor, manufacturer, retailer, home delivery, a jar manufacturer that sells a portion of their jars to the cannabis industry. We're actually seeing a lot of those ancillary businesses that a portion of their business is cannabis related because they received a check from a cannabis company, put it in their B of A account, and they got the corporate account shut down. So if they're going to have a cannabis part of their business, they're opening up separate accounts. And so we're seeing a lot of that. And I think on the specifically on the M&A side, what we're seeing is just, and this is just anecdotally, that people are moving away from the quote-unquote, sexier side of the business or the consumer-facing side of the business, and are looking more at the infrastructure side of the business, because that's really what's missing. Distribution, financial, whatever it may be, it's the infrastructure to support the industry that really needs to be there. And then, as companies do these, call them roll-ups or consolidations, I do think people are getting a little more diligent in defining what is a fit for their business. It's very easy to get style drift and get excited to buy something because you think it's going to work, and then you realize, wow, that's not really our business. It sounded good or it looked good, and you can easily convince yourself that it's part of your core business. And I think people are taking a deep breath and stepping back and saying, okay, does this really make sense?
Brent, separate from cannabis, and the hemp side, is that on a down cycle like we're seeing in cannabis when it comes to M&A because of the federal uncertainty, or how is there anything specific to hemp right now that y'all are seeing?
So on the hemp side, we see huge opportunity on the hemp side, and I assume everybody in here knows the difference on. The interesting thing about hemp, it's now fully legal at the federal level, and it arguably has 50,000 industrial uses. So more than just hemp-derived CBD or CBD-related products. But there are truly many other plastic bottles and batteries and car doors and houses, and so we're definitely all in on hemp, and we're making sure our clients understand that there's huge opportunity there. Marijuana is always going to be there, but it's got some medical uses. People use it to have a good time. But it's all just going to be that. Hemp's huge, and we're definitely seeing people wanting to grow more hemp. More states are adopting their plans under the new USDA regulations. And so our business probably 2 or 3 years ago was probably 70-75% marijuana and maybe 20-25% hemp. Now it's half and half, and I suspect in 2 years from now, it'll probably be 70-75% hemp and 20-25% marijuana.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit different. Everybody's sitting on the sidelines right now waiting for the FDA to ultimately weigh in on CBD. Do you see pent-up demand for more consolidation when that happens?
Yeah. So with regard to the FDA, I mean, that's not going to get resolved anytime soon.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where folks are cautious, but a lot of it's just education. I mean, educating our clients that, yeah, there is this FDA issue, but I mean, compared to marijuana, there's a lot less risk in terms of hemp-derived products, and that's really just related to CBD. Thinking outside the box, and there's so many other things that hemp's going to be used to get turned into, and also all the other parts of it. All the genetics and all the technology around. How do you grow it efficiently? How do you process it efficiently? How do you efficiently make it into batteries and bottles and cars and plants and all that, or in houses? People think of hemp as CBD. Hemp is so much larger than that, and so definitely think outside the box. And also look at all the stuff that's going to be needed to be developed in terms of processing hemp and turning it into products and scaling.
So I want to give the audience an opportunity. Are there any questions in the audience?
You have a question, raise your hand. Let's hear it again from the panel.
I have more questions if you don't, but I wanted to make sure if anybody had questions for the panel.
Who's got a question? Anyone? Anyone? Do I see? You guys are all incredibly well informed, apparently. You've gotten all the knowledge you need. All right.
Well, all right. I'm going to go.
Oh, wait. There, I saw a small hand wave. All right. It was like an auction. You have to be very on it. It was very subtle, like an upper class auction. They just.
hopefully I don't get the $100,000 bill. So one of the things I did not hear, and one of the things that I still think that we're missing in the industry as a whole, when we talk about risk and risk aversion, and we talk about insurance, and yes, they have been providing business solutions and such, but they're finally really starting to look at the industry as a whole. So those of us that have been doing this for a while, I think that there's a big opportunity to bring that group along, and not just in the investment. So maybe you can talk a little bit about avoiding exposure and product liability and some of the other things that are already affecting us.
Sounds like a lawyer question. Do you want to rephrase it so that he can answer it? I'm sorry.
It was a little hard to hear, I'm sorry.
We talk about the financial part of this, but we're not talking about the back end side of this, right? So as we, and this is probably to Katie a lot, because you're probably dealing with some of those things. And then I think we see the whole vape gate and what we learned from unregulated, unlicensed areas.
Great. So one way I would answer that would be to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with the experts who know what they're talking about, and that means almost endless specialization, right? If you're concerned about your product liability, which you should be, everyone should be, everyone that's watching, make sure that you are going to someone and go retain a lawyer who is a product liability specialist. Do not go to the criminal defense attorney that kept you out of jail in the 90s. Right? That guy is great. We're very happy with him, but it's like asking a podiatrist to do heart surgery, right? So the way that the way that I see that people have the best luck controlling their risk is when they're seeking out and spending the money on the real professionals who know what's going on. And really, we were joking about this in the green room earlier, but like, it's so much cheaper to hire someone who's a specialist at the front end than it is to hire a litigator afterwards, right? This is really like, do not be penny wise and pound foolish. Really look into your risk. Be very honest with yourself about where it is, and listen to your advisors about who else you might need to go look towards. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people doing, is that they rely on one lawyer for everything or one consultant for everything, and that doesn't work in any other industry. Why would that work here?
Thank you. We have a question over here.
Hi, thank you, panelists. My name's Helene Servion. I'm a partner at Journey One. We do early stage cannabis investments. My question was around, there's two parts to the question. What industries outside of cannabis are you guys most intrigued or excited about that you think will start to tip into near future M&A? And the second part is, if those industries, i.e. big alcohol, would it be through an investment to an MSO like Canopy and then an acquisition from Canopy, or a direct M&A?
Emily, that sounds up your alley.
Wait, so is it, the first part of the question is what other industries am I interested in investing in?
No, that
I think
that are signaling near future M&A. So for example, like food and beverage, right? With CBD specifically.
Yeah, I mean, they're all over the space. I would say food and beverage or traditional consumer packaged goods companies are all over this industry already. They're already talking to companies, they're already looking at them. But what I'm not even sure that it's going to be M&A and not build your own product in many of those cases, because we have yet to see breakaway brands. We have some brands that are bigger in this industry, but from my background, I used to consult for PepsiCo, and so I understand the way these groups think about it, and there's a lot of market research and understanding that goes into new product development and launching these products. So if there's a low moat around it, they're just going to do it themselves. And so right now, I feel like CBD would be falling right into that category. And so I'm probably one of the more skeptical people that acquisitions of high multiples of CBD brands are going to happen from traditional CPG companies or even alcohol brands. I think that from what I understand, Constellation kind of regrets the way that they invested into Canopy Growth Corporation, and I think that they've been pretty vocal about their disappointment in the performance and the lagging of the launching of beverages, and so I think that we've got some pain points to go, and I don't think we're going to see those lofty multiples for a while again. I think that when some of the regulations change around banking and when when things open up a bit more and things get of size, we could see some more interest around that. But I do think that so I know beauty brands, like I know L'Oreal is looking at the space. I know that alcohol is looking at the space. I know consumer packaged goods companies are looking at the space. I know big tobacco is looking at the space. All of them are investigating it, and all of them are trying to decide if they just do it themselves or if they buy companies.
And they're going to be slow until the FDA weighs in too on CBD, probably.
Yeah, it depends on where they're located too,
Yeah.
in terms
Did anybody-
of testing.
Did anybody else have anything to add to that?
I'll just say that I think it's kind of interesting because some people, or a lot of people, think that cannabis is like this really different thing that has to be treated differently. I mean, there's some legality and regulatory hurdles, but it's a plant, right? And it's going to evolve like most other industries. And so don't think of it that differently, right? In terms of from an investment standpoint and how it's going to evolve and where the opportunities are. Because we're going to look back in 15 years and say, oh yeah, that's just like everything else that evolved at some point in time.
You know what I think is interesting though? You pointed out about the other industrial uses of hemp, and that is where I'm seeing some large multinational companies, like fashion brands, are talking to those companies because they have something proprietary and special about how they can create an actual textile that's user-friendly, actually eco-friendly, and something that these large companies can work with, and then they can talk about this really interesting story about bringing hemp back, bringing seed, they're calling it seed to sown movement. So there's but that's where I'm talking about with the moat that gets really interesting, and that's when the M&A that's when you get the better buyout.
It's a great point because really the only thing that concerns people right now about CBD is the FDA issues. There's so many other uses of hemp that there's literally no restrictions now to develop products using that plant for all those other products.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I want to thank the folks at ICBC and our panel as well. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for Alan Brodsky.